everybody. How's everyone today?
Here.
I know. I know. What a week, right?
Yeah.
It's so interesting because last night we launched our program, um, and it's after 3 week hiatus, and there was a lot of momentum and excitement. And usually before we start, I always try to say a few words and just sometimes sort of tap into what's happening and that kind of a thing before we introduce the artist. And I sat down last night and I thought, gosh, I'm trying to write these remarks, and 3 weeks have passed, and so much has happened in the last 3 weeks, and nothing has changed. And I thought, how do I make sense of this right now? How do I talk about this without sounding completely trite, right? How do the magnitude of all of this, the fact that there's been so much momentum, and I mean, our collaboration, came out of this, right? What was happening, and here we are again, and have we moved? Have we done anything? What I don't know. It's a level of and I thought about the other day. I felt like, will my words just sound silly? Will they sound unimportant? There was just something there that was really disheartening. And
I feel like something that's been coming up for me lately is like, what's the point? Which is like hard to say out loud because we know what the point is, but it's that moment of like despair that you go into after you get the like shock and trauma of what's going on. And for me, like going back to the reason why we felt this was so important for artists is because it's about breath, which breath is inspiration. And for me, the fact that the production of this happening and the time almost being stretched out more than we had thought is because, at least I know as an artist, I'm in this place of what's the point? Like my inspiration feels like it was stolen from me. Every time this happens, it's like, yes, this is called, we can breathe. But to me, to like sit in a room and be like, okay, everyone, let's breathe. It's like right now I'm feeling like I can't breathe. I'm not inspired. I have no inspiration. And instead of pretending that it's not and just moving forward for moving forward's sake, it's like, what does it feel like to pause and be like, this is what it feels like to be uninspired. Like every time this happens, my artistry feels like my life, my artistry feels like it's just taken away. And I feel like, what's the point?
it's not like breathing, it's like holding your breath.
Yeah, it's
right?
holding your breath, and
It's holding your breath, because what's next? When can you take that deep breath, fill your lungs, and release? I don't know.
and I don't know the answer.
And part of the reason why we thought this was important when Tanya did our first retreat, which was specifically for women of color, and I remember you mentioning this, Tanya, and how one of the women had this realization that I don't think I've ever taken a deep, full breath before. It is an unknown feeling to me. And here we are, and this continues to happen. As we continue to talk about this project being We Can Breathe, how do we do that?
Yeah, to me it sounds like Obama had the audacity of hope. It sounds like the audacity of breath, like the audacity to breathe in the midst of all of this. Because like to me it's the like, yeah, just like how dare I take up space and breathe and create and do all of these things in the midst of like terror. And I guess that's the role of the artist.
Really excited when I saw the first retreat announced. There's something in my neighborhood that is addressing someone like me, someone who is multi-ethnic. Um, so let's see where this goes, and really look. The hat was more the spiritual hat of I've been practicing yoga for several years now. I'm also a Reiki practitioner. And as we went forward, and I got a chance to learn more about you, Tanya, then is when the seed was planted of how can I wear my arts administrator hat and my personal passion, because normally I separate them. Um, so I think it happened organically.
Joanna, you said like separating yourself, and I've done that often. And like, I feel like when I'm an artist, I'm like an artist, make it happen, like create. But I almost, not that I leave my spirituality at the door, but I don't lead with it. And what I'm realizing in this process, particularly in this work, and what I'm being asked to do is to lead with that part of myself. And I love Cornel West's definition of spirituality was empathy and imagination together to create a better future. Like, it's not this like lofty woo woo idea. It's literally being able to hold empathy and imagination at the same time. And
the conversations that we're having, and the reason why we first did the retreat, was this idea of moving away from wellness as we've come to know wellness, at least in this country, which is this very elitist, you have to be of a certain type of person to be even allowed to consider the thought of wellness. And the conversations we're having are about wellness being a human right? So in the same way that I feel health is a human right, the step behind that for me is wellness, this consideration of care for oneself that can come before you get to the point of needing to take care of your health, is that day-to-day stuff that we do that keeps you well, that keeps you functioning, that is not just related to your body, definitely related to your body, but also how you feel, how you think, that gives you that more holistic sense of wellness. And right now, most people don't have access to that. How can we make wellness more equitable? Is a conversation that I'm interested in from the perspective of a yoga studio. Let's dig into that. Into what you said, Nuria, I think, yes, the conversation is always about self-care, right? It's all about self-care. I think we need to use self-care as a form of community care, and how do we mirror the self-care into the needs of our community?
I love that.
Exactly. And sort of, creating those spaces for empathy, right? That's how you do it, and it is. And I think that idea of the accessibility of wellness, and I love what you said, that notion, it's a right, it's a human right. It's not a luxury. It's not something that people of a certain class or of particular means should just be able to avail themselves of. No, it's not. And I really fundamentally believe that. And I think that's, part of why I'm so excited about this.
The artist part of me has to lead, and inviting artists into this conversation, because right now we are dealing with life and death with a lot of with everything we're seeing on the news. And so what happens, at least for me as an artist, is like, oh, well, we're not essential, which technically in terms of like life and death, perhaps not. But I do know that artists are able to create spaces for conversations that would never be able to happen otherwise. Like, they're too dangerous. Like, talk about life and death. Like, if you try to approach some of this content with words, you have war. You approach some of this content with art, and you have like revolutions. So it's reminding myself as well that the artist that doesn't know, coming into this process not knowing, is valid. Coming into this process from a spiritual perspective and a perspective of I just need to let my heart lead me and move from there is valid. Like, that's where the sauce is. Like, that's where the good stuff
level. And I can't help but think that that's why we purposely are doing videos that people can access whenever they want and need, versus a very kind of rigid class schedule that if you miss it, oh well, there's a report. No, there will always be a recording available when you need it. It's there.
Yeah.
It's free, and it's there for you.
Accessibility is essential right now. I think we're all dealing with so much, and our realities, both personal, at home, work realities, everything is changing so much and so rapidly that making content like this accessible is essential right now.
And I think it's also respecting to the highs and lows that we're all experiencing, right? I mean, there are days that, that's something that I've really become aware of. There are days that, I wake up and I thought, well, today's not going to be one of those days, and then the next day I might wake up with an enormous amount of energy and optimism. And so you want to be able to harness that and channel it into some kind of productivity. So to have these available when you are in those moments, I think is critical. I think it's key. I really do. And I think that's what also, makes this project so important.
As Tanya was talking about, art, you can tackle a lot more with art, right, than just processing through words. This is the healing part, I think, that this series specifically is going to bring in, and how art is healing for so many people. And the focus of the series, especially healing for artists, because as you are processing all of this right now, so many artists are working on processing this right now, and these are great tools for healing the artist, so the artist can produce art and work that is healing to others.
Like, again, this fuels me again in the work to be like, this is a revolutionary act to breathe and to keep breathing and to use it as a mantra. Yeah. Okay. I feel like we need to release this as like a podcast added bonus to the video series. You get a bonus podcast episode.
The inside scoop.
Right. Yeah.
Inside scoop. You get the inside scoop to the creation of what I know is going to be like beautiful and important and not easy, but necessary.
Yeah.